Hey guys, it's your boy Elite here with another War Showcase. This time it's going to be versus GT40 over at Salty, TCN at LVT. I'll be showing you the fights in order as I did them. So without further ado, let's head over to the war at LVT to get things started. First up, I'm going to be using Photon against an America Chavez on Path 5. I do have a Wax White Magneto pre-fight on here to help give me easy openings. I do have half recoil masteries as well, just to help me with damage. But other than that, I have science boosts on just to enhance my power overall with Photon. But primarily, I'm just not pushing America Chavez to her special 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop that special 2, enter Pure of Light, throw another special 2 after I bait the SP1 just to be safe, and close out the fight. Next up is going to be a Negasonic Teenage Warhead. If you saw my last war video, you'll see she gave me a little bit of an issue. This go around, it's great because Photon can actually parry non-projectile basic attacks, so it's just going to be fairly straightforward. Knock her down to remove her riposte essentially, and then she's finished from there. Next up is going to be a destroyer on Path 9 in Section 2. So the objective going into this fight was basically don't even worry about taking shock damage. In general, Photon actually has some energy resistance. I did throw on some masteries to help mitigate some of that damage, but ideally, I do have to dex one of his SP2s, but that's going to be the only special he's going to throw throughout this fight. I'm just going to cycle 2 SP2s, and that fight will be over. Next up is going to be a Spider Ham on Path 9 using Moleman. So on this fight, initially I did actually have intended to run half recoil masteries just to give me some damage to close out the fight quickly. I decided against it. Looking back, I think I would have actually thrown them on and maxed deep wounds as well, just so that I could have closed out the fight significantly faster. It also didn't help that the AI didn't really want to throw special 1s in general, but I'm trying not to get cornered and not to attack too much during his bleed phase, because Moleman cannot shrug that off since he's in monster mass mode right now. I eat a heavy attack, so now it's kind of looking a little ugly here. I am a little concerned at this point. The bleed is chipping away at me. I'm kind of just thinking to myself, oh boy, I gotta close this out, and I do not want to die here for sure. It was a close war at this point. So I'm trying to bait this SP1 from him. He does not want to throw it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that SP1. And it's over. Thankfully, was able to solo that. Next up, we're heading over to our Salty War. We were facing GT40 here. So first up, I'm going to be in Path 1. I'm going to use Warlock versus this Domino to start it all off. I have full recoil masteries, full tech power back boost, so in general, it's going to be a pretty straightforward fight, nothing too crazy going on here. He's going to be able to control a lot of her power by his nanovirus infection, essentially. One more special 2 should do the trick, and moving on is a Modok using Magneto. So in this fight, I'm also running recoil masteries. max pacify so that even if he does manage to shrug off a debuff when he's magnetized, he won't actually trigger the unblockable. So I'm only going to attack into him when he has auto block. Otherwise, I'm just going to parry heavy during his evade phase. I'm going to build to the special 3, make sure I have at least about 30 or so prowess active. Throw the special 3, and the fight is over from here. Next up, so I'm fighting this on Bullseye on Path 6 with Onslaught. Going into this fight, I did actually talk with one of my teammates over at Salty. His name is Tommy, great friend of mine. I've known him since I was in GOM V. Nonetheless, he provided me with some tips on how to approach this fight. In general, before this, I didn't have a ton of experience using Onslaught. The main premise of what I did know was that I do want to actually use a heavy attack into a special cancel so that he pauses his neuro shocks essentially, and then use a SP2 to throw on some fat degens. I missed opportunities here to do that. Looking back on it, even at that point in the fight, I could have parried him and heavied attacked. The fight definitely would have been over and well under control. Unfortunately, my lack of experience got the better of me this go around. I'm gonna eat that special 1, and unfortunately this is my first death of the season. I'm gonna go ahead and go back in. I took about 5 minutes to just clear my head because I was really upset, and you have a tendency to actually perform worse if you go into it when you're really upset and in the heat of the moment. So I'm gonna go back into it, clean it up, and then finish up the war. Moving on forward, I'm going to be using Warlock against this Sauron. So in this fight, pretty much same mastery setup as before, full recoils, tech power back boost, power start 1. So I'm just going to get to special 2, get the nanovirus infection on him, and then the fight will be over and under control at that point. So I'm going to bait this special 1, get the full dex on there, backdraft intercept into an SP2, and it's over. Moving on next is going to be a Killmonger using Onslaught again. This is the aggression regen mini. So in this fight, I actually prolonged it a little bit more than I should have. Again, coming off of that death, essentially kind of makes you second guess a lot of the stuff that you thought you knew and that you were prepared for. Essentially, what the goal of the fight is to just pause those neuroshocks, get to a special 2, drop that degen, and on this, my main concern for this fight was the fact that Killmonger gains power whenever he gets debuffs applied to him. So unfortunately at this point I didn't have any neuroshocks on him, so that didn't really do much of anything. I'm trying to bait that special 2. He does not want to throw it, so I'm kind of getting cornered. I decided to push him to SP3 since I had an invulnerability boost active at this time. Now we're going to get into that cycle that I'm looking for. Heavy intercept, get that extended pause, build to special 2, get that wall intercept, pause the debuffs again. Another pause right there. Drop that SP2, and now the fight is in fact over. Final fight for this war is going to be a Aspect of Evolution Iron Man Infinity War. I'll be using Magneto for this fight. Nothing too complicated about it other than getting my heavy attack parried to start off the fight, unfortunately. Other than that though, it's just going to be a really quick fight. Get to SP3, have over 35 per hours or so. That's it for the Salty War. Now moving back over to LVT. I waited to do these fights till the morning after because that on Bullseye death really had me second guessing myself, so I decided it'd probably be best for me to wait out the night and do these in the morning. So I'm using ProfX on path 7. This first fight is just a Korg. I have a Wags pre-fight on here as well, so I don't have to worry about him shrugging off those parry stuns. Basically just built a special 3. I have half recoil masteries on. And the only other thing that I'm going to do is just make sure that his rock shield is off before I throw my special 3, so he doesn't mitigate that damage heavily. And that special 3 will close out the match. Alright, so this fight was initially intended to be Professor X as well versus this Jessica Jones. However, I thought about it more and discussed with my officer that it would probably be pretty difficult to keep cycling the SP3 since she's going to have weakness debuffs applying. So I needed to bring Terrax and Magneto, neither of which would work, or Professor X and Magneto would not work. So we decided Terrax should work. I'm just not throwing any specials at all. It's basically just a Jessica Jones general fight since Terrax is global tactics, so he's going to ignore the evade and the auto block. I'm just not going to throw any specials whatsoever and just deal with her unstoppable, wait it out as needed. It's just a long fight, but there really was no concern as far as anything too crazy going on here. The main concern, if anything, would be to either get cornered or to timeout, really. But even then, this is a rank 3 Terrax, so there's not too big of a concern of timing out. As long as the AI cooperates and throws specials, you're just big chillin'. Ideally, just keep an eye on your clarity charges. Nothing else to the fight than that, though. And next up is going to be back to Path 3 in Section 2. I'm using Terrax versus this Captain America Sam Wilson, so I'm just going to be using either light or medium or light medium attacks just to build my clarity, at which point now I'm going to really start just doing full-on combos, light-ended combos to refresh the armor breaks, bait his special ones, throw my special one, and then heavy attack when I'm close to having my rock aura expire so that I can deal some big damage. One heavy attack here will finish off just about most of his health. Next up is a red skull, so same approach on this fight. Essentially, I'm just going to be spamming my special ones to keep most of his armors off and armor break him. Keep clarity up. And one special attack will go ahead and finish him off. Next up is going to be a Overseer on the same node that I fought Killmonger on the night before, the aggression or regeneration one. So this fight I'm using Professor X. I'm building to special 3. Fire that off. So essentially here I'm trying to keep some spacing so he doesn't build up too many of those regeneration buffs, and also after he throws an attack he will have his own personal auto block, which makes him stun immune, so I'm just not even attacking him during that point in time. So now I'm going to go ahead and do some full combos, throw my striker, build to SB3, bait out this special 2, and now just let the mutant power back boosts do their work. So that last SB3 will finish him off. And then moving on to my final fight of the war, it's going to be a Werewolf by Night. It's the Conflictor mini-boss. So on this fight, I have half recoil masteries as well. I used a power start 1. I did get a Magneto pre-fight on this fight, so I can parry freely. But one thing I am trying to keep control over is the prowess puncture on the node as well. So I'm trying to alternate between throwing a heavy attack, throwing a light and a heavy attack, build to SP3. I got cornered here, which is bad. I'm getting some ruptures build up on me. My falter did save me there, and at this point I'm not sure what I was trying to do here, but I'm spamming my special 3 button. Fortunately it did actually go through, so I will end up capturing all 3 bonuses on this fight, fortunately enough. And that'll be the war, essentially. Unfortunately, we did end up losing the war here versus TCN at LVT, and we did lose over at Salty versus GT40, but nonetheless, lessons learned. If there's one thing I could give you guys to take away, in the great words of Winston Churchill, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed the showcase and that your season is going well. I'll catch you guys in the next showcase. Alright, later.